Hey, happy almost New Year's, everyone. We are so excited. I am Kristen with Cidercraft Magazine. We have such a fun thing planned today. I am such an amateur cocktail maker, but thankfully, tonight we have a really special guest that is going to come on. We are going to whip up three cider cocktails. Now, we have been actually featuring cider cocktails in Cidercraft Magazine for many years now, and it's just such a perfect drink to make cocktails with. And we really want you to kind of reimagine how you think about cocktails, especially when it calls for sparkling. There's always an opportunity to put cider in there. So cocktail class is in session, and I want to bring on our special guest. We have Darlene Hayes, who is not only a contributor, a longtime contributor of Cidercraft Magazine. She is the author of Cider Cocktails, Another Bite of the Apple. So let's bring her on.
Hi, Kristen. Happy holidays. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun. Like I just said to everyone, I am a total amateur, but this is now my third cocktail class in quarantine that I've done. So I don't know if I have a new career, but I guess it kind of falls into what I'm doing anyway. So
I think it probably does. And you're right when you said in your introduction that cider is a great cocktail ingredient, and
absolutely.
Pretty much any cocktail that you can think of that has any kind of fizzy element, you can swap out a cider, whether it's a gin and tonic, anything that uses soda water or anything like that. Cider is perfect. You get more bang for your buck because you get more flavor than you will with water. It's a great idea.
And the thing is that if everyone that's out there, if you don't have some of these ingredients, there's so many different replacements for it that we'll talk about as we go through them.
Yep.
But I mean, some of the ciders that we're using today might not be available in your area, but we'll tell you the style of cider that you want to go, and which you could probably pick up at any grocery store to make as a replacement. So. And and Darlene, let me ask. So tell us a little bit about your cocktail book and why you decided to write this.
Well, I really think that cider is a great ingredient for both cocktails and cooking. And I had been exploring the idea of a cookbook, and I thought I would start with something a little bit smaller, or although there are recipes for appetizers using cider in the book as well, because again, it's a great ingredient for cooking. And it just seemed like a fun way of exploring other uses for cider. And I got to do a little research on the cocktails, which was so much fun because cider's actually been used in cocktails for a couple of hundred years at least.
Yeah.
And so the old cocktail books, starting in the 19th century was when they first started to be printed, they have a lot of recipes in them. And so that was a good jumping off place for me where I could then sort of riff on what someone was doing in the 1880s, and which is always fun.
Totally.
I'm kind of a history nerd, so yeah.
Yeah, I love that. We love your historical and educational pieces that you do for us at Cidercraft Magazine. So we appreciate all of your research that you do, and specifically for these cocktails. So why did you choose these three cocktails today?
Well, I wanted something that would be very festive, first of all, and also really simple. Because particularly if you're entertaining, you don't want it to be a lot of fuss. You want something quick to put together that your guests are going to really enjoy. And so especially this first one that we'll start with, it couldn't be simpler. And it's also a real classic. Shall we get started with the first one?
Absolutely. So are we on these cocktails, are all of these one single serving?
Yes, the ingredient list that I've got on my website, which I think you're going to link to.
So if you're following along, I really hope you can follow along. It's going to be really fun, and I'm going to make a huge ton of mess. So, but they will be all available on her website, allincider.com, after this. And also this broadcast will be available on Cidercraft's YouTube channel and website. So you can watch it later. And have your own in-home virtual cocktail class. So yeah, let's get started.
Okay. So the first one we're going to make is a classic called a Kir Normande, and it can be made with champagne, in which case it would be called a Kir Royale. But because Normandy is a classic cider making area in Western France, they use sparkling cider instead of champagne in this cocktail. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with 1 sugar cube.
Okay.
All right. And
are we putting this directly into the glass? Let me take this little thing off here so that
the way I like to do it is to start with a little plate. So I got a little plate here, and I'm going to put the sugar cube on the plate. And then I'm going to take a little cassis, which is blackcurrant liqueur.
Okay.
And there isn't really a substitute for that, but it's available everywhere. Yeah. And I'm going to take a 1/4 teaspoon of the cassis. Okay. And I'm going to drizzle it on the sugar cube so that it all soaks into the sugar.
I'm just going to make a mess. I don't have a teaspoon, so I'm going to just go directly onto the sugar cube, onto my...
Then just enough to get it nice and soaked so you can see it's all sort of pink now.
Yum.
Where's my camera? There's my camera. Sort of pink looking. There. Okay. Now that we're going to take and we're going to put, let's get rid of this thing, in the bottom of our champagne flute. Can you help me? Now that's going to go in the bottom of a champagne flute.
Okay.
All right. And before we add the cider, what I want you to do, Kristen, we're going to need a little garnish. So find your lemon. You got a lemon in somewhere?
I do.
All right. Okay. So we're going to want a little skinny strip to use as a garnish. Now I have this fancy cocktail tool, which makes little skinny strips. Oh, look at that. But if you don't have a fancy cocktail tool, use a regular vegetable peeler and peel off a nice strip and then just cut a little strip out of that. So,
but if you make cocktails at home a lot, this is like an absolute necessity. So, I mean, it makes you look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah. A channel knife, I think is what it's called. Something like that. Anyway, all right. Let's get a shot. Let's get a cider. Now, because I'm adding sugar to this, right, for this in the bottom, I wanted a really very dry cider. You could use a sweeter cider. I happen to like a little bit on the drier side. And since I know I'm going to be adding sugar to things, I wanted to start out particularly dry. I'm using a Northern Spy single varietal. I can't figure made by Eve's Cidery in the Finger Lakes region. This is their 2017 vintage. It's dry and bright. It's got some really lovely sort of citrus, bright citrus, lemon, lime, green apple kinds of flavors. And so that's what I think is going to be perfect. I've already opened this because.
So let me tell you what I found.
Yeah, what have you got? What have you got?
So I have the single varietal black twig from Gypsy Cider and Gypsy Circus Cider. And this is bone dry. And I saw this on the back of the label. That's also very helpful for people out there. Most cideries are now including a sweetness scale on there. So it's very easy to find what you're looking for.
All right. So all I'm going to do then is pour in this cider. Try not to let it run over the top. And you can see it's sparkling beautifully. And that sugar cube is slowly releasing all of that little bit of cassis.
Look at that.
Into it. And then garnish with a little twist of lemon. And that's it.
Let's go this way. Okay, I'm going to do mine up. Booyah! OMG!
There you go. Cheers. There.
Cheers. I have to try this.
Yep, I get just a little of that fruitiness from the cassis, and you can see it's releasing really slowly in the bottom there and creating a nice place for the bubbles to adhere. So you get lots of festive fizz in that, which is also kind of pretty. And if you're making these for a crowd, what you can do is actually have a little plate and pre-soak your sugar cubes so that when a guest is ready for a glass, drop one in, fill it with cider, a little garnish, and away you go.
I love that because cassis, I think, can be really overpowering or overpower some of the other flavors. So putting it on the sugar cube or soaking it first is really nice. And it also doesn't take away from the color of the cider.
Right.
You know, it's not pink. So, oh my gosh. Okay. I have my family, my mom and my sister behind me. This is what I did last time. I take a little sip and then I pass it off.
I see. All right, great. Now, if for some reason you have trouble finding cassis, now this is an ancient looking bottle. Another classic cocktail in the same kind of mode is the champagne cocktail. And actually, in today's New York Times food section, they have a recipe for a champagne cocktail, which is the same process. You take Angostura bitters and you bitters on top of the sugar
A couple
cube into the
dashes.
bottom of your glass, and then top with cider. And it's perfect. It's a slightly different flavor profile because of the bitters instead of the cassis. But again, the same kind of really super easy, and away you go kind of cocktail.
I love that. Yeah, great. I do like a little dash of bitters in my drinks. So that's awesome. But if you don't have it, honestly, I had these sitting right here and I forgot to put it in and it was still delicious. So, and what a
Right.
great even morning after cocktail New Year's Eve. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's like
Right.
that's a
Right.
good little brunchy.
All right.
So,
Let's get this sealed up again.
okay.
I don't have a mother and others to drink cocktails, but I'll have it. I'll have
I
it
know.
later. So.
Well, I'm pretty sure your husband's in the other room, but
Right. It's true. It's true.
I was going to do this from my house, but I have a new puppy, and that there was no having it be quiet for what I was doing over there. So,
I
and we've
completely
got
understand.
crazy snowstorm here. So, I mean, there's like 7 inches of snow right outside our
Wow.
which is just wild. So,
That is wild. That is wild.
yeah.
That's terrific. So let's do our next one. Now we're going to step up just a little bit.
Okay.
And this is a riff on a very, very, very old cocktail. It goes back at least to the 18th century, called the stone fence. I called this one the fence line, because I'm in Northern California. We don't have a lot of stone fences here. Ours are more barbed wire or wooden pickets or something like that to divide land. Um, Historically, it's been made in lots of different places, and what people will do is they will take whatever liquor is common in their area, whatever spirit, whether it's rye whiskey or it's bourbon or rum. Probably originally in Vermont, it was rum, where this came from, or upstate New York, I guess. And then whatever the local cider was,
Yeah.
and mix the two of them together. And that's the classic stone fence. And so we're going to sort of play with that same kind of thing a little bit. So I'm going to start, we're going to mix this in a pint glass to chill things first, and then pour it into our serving glass. So find yourself a pint glass.
Well, okay, I can't do that, but I do have a shaker. Does that
All right.
work?
Well, okay, you can use your shaker. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. This
And
is
what
if you don't have a shaker, this is an alternative for something you can
Perfect.
do.
Okay, good to know.
All right.
What kind of cider are you using for this one?
I am using, well, since I'm staying with the whole local theme, I am using an Arkansas Black single varietal made by Tilted Shed. They just released it. You can see she did this lovely, I can't figure out what the camera is, sort of inspired by the G's Bend quilting.
Oh,
Thing,
cool.
right? So that's what that's all about. So it's local cider.
Darlene is pulling out all the guns for her ciders right now. And, don't worry. I don't think the cider makers are upset that we're mixing their cider, but she is doing some good ones. But I do have Lone Tree's dry cider.
Great.
And
right.
I think it's a great dry cider. So you can just find any cider that is a dry cider. It'll work for what we're doing.
Right. And again, conceptually, for this one, I like to stick with something local. You can always find something local. So my local spirits is actually, I'm going to use a rum made in the city of Sonoma by, I think it's Prohibition Spirits. This is Sugar Daddy Amber Rum. So that's the spirit I'm going to use.
Well, I had rum, but I grabbed whiskey. So I'm using Ransom Spirits out of Oregon, their whiskey. You're right.
Terrific.
It is
all right.
hard to figure out what where the camera is.
Right. Yeah. Let me get some ice.
Okay.
All right. So now, because I think that this cocktail could use a little more balance than just cider and spirits, personally, I'm also suggesting a little bit of agave syrup. No, wait a minute. Is this the one with agave syrup? No, this is the spice simple syrup. See, I confused my cocktail.
Special simple syrup, by the way.
Right. So there's a recipe both on the Cidercraft website, where you listed the ingredients, and also on my website for a really simple syrup with some spices in it. So it's a combination of sugar and water and some cinnamon and some star anise, just to give a little bit more something. So we're going to measure out 1/2 ounce of this.
Okay.
And I've got a million different kinds of shot glasses here. So here's that 1/2 ounce. Doop. All right. And that's going to go into my pint glass or your cocktail shaker, whatever you have handy.
Whatever you have handy.
And then I'm going to use 1.5 ounces of this rum.
Or whiskey. Whoa!
Or whiskey.
That
Or
was
Calvados or whatever you got.
I'm sorry, how many ounces?
1.5 ounces, 1.5.
Ounce and a half, okay.
Now what we want to do here is we want to chill it, and we want to stir it a bit so that we can get the agave, the spice simple syrup, really well incorporated into this syrup. So I'm going to add some ice to this pint glass. And you're going to add them to your cocktail shaker. And you could actually do this in a cocktail shaker if you had a long spoon. You're going to shake. I'm going to stir. Okay. Remember that whole bond thing, shaken or stirred? This is the stirred version. You're doing the shaken version. And we're going to do that for a little bit. And what this is doing, it's chilling the spirits, and it's also getting that sugar syrup nice and mixed in.
I do have one of those fancy cocktail things, but I can't trust
one of these strainer guys.
No, you have a pint glass. I thought you were. Never mind. Don't listen to me.
No. I got a pint glass. All right. So that's going to go into my. I'm going to look at my. Right. It's going to go into this glass, I think. It's going to go into my old-fashioned glass.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do 3 ounces of cider.
And you are measuring out that cider.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, this smells
Right.
so good. Yummy. I'm not sure.
A little more ice.
I'm a big whiskey person.
A little more ice. And now we're going to garnish with some orange zest. Now, I like a big piece of orange zest for garnishing. So I'm going to use this vegetable peeler.
Okay.
I've got a nice big piece. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it over the top and just.
Brain. This is juicy. It's all over the place.
All right. So I did a big wide peel instead of a little skinny peel.
I wish I could do that. Right. I just don't have a peel.
The vegetable peel. That's right. Anyway, if you do have a vegetable peeler, so you can just take it and do a quick squeeze over the top, and that releases all those orange oils into the cider. And in it goes. Give it a little stir, and there you go. Simple, simple.
I stir it with my peeler. I think that this is a little sticky on the bottom here. Oh my goodness. Is that not like winter in a glass? That is, but also so refreshing because of that orange, like, just this like juices.
There's something about those warming spices that I think really says winter to us, and especially with the orange. It's
and simple syrup is just so simple. So it's like it's almost equal parts sugar and water, and then you just steep it with whatever you want, and it takes on that flavor.
Right.
But this is lovely.
Yeah, my tendency is to use twice as much sugar as water, so that I don't have to use as much simple syrup, so we don't get as much dilution. But whatever works. This is pretty good.
It's really hard for me to hand this off.
You can always make others. Okay,
right?
Now.
Oh, I've got enough ingredients to be making cocktails all night, but.
Right. So, let's do cocktail number 3. Let's start with a cider for cocktail number 3. So this one is has a few more ingredients, but it's no more complicated than the fence line that we just did, really. So because we wanted to go festive, I went with a cranberry cider. This is from Artifact Cider called No New Friends. And it is bright and tart and has that kind of berry thing, which is great. If you don't, but cranberry ciders tend to be very seasonal. If you want to make this cocktail and you cannot find a cranberry cider, a nice dry tart cherry cider would work beautifully too.
Could
And
you even
those tend to be a little more common.
Could you even do a dry cider with a little bit of like cranberry juice concentrate, like a smidget, or would that be overpowering?
You probably could. Now that you mention it, yeah, you probably could. I hadn't thought of that. I've got cranberry concentrate. Maybe I ought to give that a try. Nugent's makes one you can get on Amazon. So I always keep it in stock because you never know.
I'm using Tieton's cranberry. And this, I mean, I just happened to find it at the store, but it unfortunately is a seasonal and probably not readily available right now.
Right. Well, and as a matter of fact, Artifact, when I went looking for this, it wasn't on the website, which was very sad. So I wrote to them and explained what I wanted to do, and they were very kind to ship me some so that I could use it in this cocktail, and I think it's going to be brilliant. So the other thing that we have here, let's find our other ingredients. So the Sloe Gin, that's the Sloe-Berry thing. So Sloe Gin used to be a really common thing when I was in college 1,000 years ago, where a Sloe Gin Fizz was a really common drink. And I know, Kristen, you had a little trouble finding it. This is a Sloe Gin that's made by a distillery that's 10 minutes from my house here. And it literally is a gin, a really high-end gin that they make that then they steep sloe berries. It's a little tiny plum that grows in hedgerows in Europe, and they actually have to import those because they don't grow. Well, nobody grows them here, I guess because there's no market for them. And it's, again, they're very tart, and they've got some tannin in them. They always add a little sugar to balance. And what did you say? You said that you found something.
Yeah, I actually found a couple things. So I mean, just you can get, you can get creative with it, but I found a sour cherry gin. That's very similar. And also it's called Four Pillars Bloody Shiraz. So it's Shiraz grapes, but it has that, because I know I've had Sloe Gin before, and it's these two both have very similar characteristics. So if you're looking, I mean, if you go gin base with a red fruit, I don't think you can go wrong. So,
I think you're right. I think you're right about that. And the other thing we've got, the other thing I've got here is a dry orange Curaçao. And Curaçaos come in sort of different versions. The blue one, I think, would be a mistake here just because of the color.
All the time. Don't use those are the drinks that you go on vacation and you're like, why are you drinking a blue drink? And it hurts your tummy. But
and to be honest, you've got a dip. So what have you got?
I'm using Long Table Distilling out of Vancouver, BC, their orange Curaçao. So I'm very lucky to have this. So
the only one I could find in Sonoma County is actually imported from France, which made no sense to me, but there it is. So, but that's okay. It's an orange liqueur. It has a little bitterness. If you can't find Curaçao, you could always use Cointreau. You could use, what's the other? Triple Sec. You could probably use that, although Triple Sec's a little sweeter. So what we're looking for is a little of the bitter orange thing, and we're looking for, just some of that orange character. So I'm going to use a shaker for this one. Which has got sugar on it from the last time I made something. All right, so what do I need? I need Sloe Gin, and I'm doing 1.5 ounces of Sloe Gin.
Okay. Ooh, 1.5 ounces. Party time.
1.5 ounces of Sloe Gin, in that goes. I can't believe how many shot glasses I have. And then I'm going to do 1/2 ounce of this Curaçao.
Just a reminder for folks that are watching us, I am an amateur. This is how easy it is to make these cocktails. You really need to have the ingredients in front of me. You said a half an ounce of Curaçao?
Half an ounce of Curaçao. And then we're going to use some ginger bitters, right? Give it a little spice. So 5 drops of ginger bitters. And I found this great one. I have no idea where this company is. Infused Bitters. And they've got chunks of ginger floating in the bottom of this, which makes it really super gingery, which I love.
Right. And how many little shakeroonies?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although I just did 6, but okay. And the agave syrup. A little more balance. Again, we want a little balance here because the cider is pretty dry and quite tart. So we're going to do a half ounce of agave syrup. Now, when you're making any of these, because you're going to be using different ciders and maybe different spirits, you may need to play with the sweet, tart, booty balance a little bit. So start small and then work your way up is my advice. I think a half an ounce is going to do it here. Okay. So ice into the shaker. Since the cider is fizzy, we're not going to use it just yet. Ice into the shaker. Top on.
I'll try to do this off camera so it's not too loud. I lied.
So about 30 seconds is a good time frame for the shaking because they're doing 2 things. You're not only mixing and chilling, but the whacking of the ice cubes against the side of the shaker or the pint glass, if you're stirring, is also releasing just a little bit of water into the spirits to dilute just a little bit, which will really help with the balance of the booze. Okay, strain that into a glass.
Beautiful color already.
Alrighty. And then I have, my thing says 6 ounces. Let's assume 6 ounces is pretty good. You might want more or less of that. I'm going to start with 4, just because I'm curious. Give it a little stir with my tongs.
Well, I'm going to go with 3 because that's about what my glass holds.
Okay, well, that's often the reason that you...
Oh, this is so beautiful, though, by the way, without even ice in it. It's just gorge.
I think 4 works for me.
Okay.
4 works for me. Oh, right. So, ice.
Any bigger. Shoot, that's not any bigger. Okay, well, see, you just got to play around.
Yep. And then a little lime wedge.
Okay.
Now, I know this is yellow, but it truly is a lime because I just picked it off the Beers seedless lime tree. Do a little squeeze, and it goes.
You're just bragging. Are you kidding me? You have a lime tree in your backyard?
I do, actually. I am lucky. I killed several of them before I figured out where to plant it. It's planted up against the south side of the house, so it gets a lot of residual warmth. Otherwise, there's no way. So,
I am cutting with the dullest knife known to man.
Okay.
Squeeze it in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A little squeeze, a little acid.
Okay. Cheers to
that. Go. Cheers.
Oh,
what do you think?
That is fantastic.
Excellent.
I mean, I don't know how anybody could not like any of these cocktails right now. They're amazing.
Yep.
I love this. So I went with 3 ounces of cider, and for me, I think that's a really good amount.
Yeah.
I could definitely put it in a little bigger glass with a little more ice. But this is real tasty.
I had been thinking a little bit more, but I'm going to revise that. I think 3 to 4 is a good
Yeah.
number, actually. Yeah.
I mean, just the balance of everything, I think it works really, really
Right.
well.
The four makes the spirit, the sloe gin, a little more dilute, so you're not as conscious of the alcohol in it, which you may prefer. Um, Although those are the cocktails, of course, that are really dangerous, that you can't
Right.
tell how much alcohol is in them. So,
Totally. I mean, and that's the thing is
anyway,
like also using cider instead of sparkling wine or prosecco, you're looking at like more, basically the highest about 6% ABV versus 14 to
right,
15% on the sparkling wine. So it does make it a little less boozy, which
right.
creates a little more longevity, especially for New Year's Eve out there, you guys. You got to stay up till midnight. Lord knows I won't.
You betcha. You betcha. You betcha. Unless you're just going to watch on the West Coast and you're going to watch the ball drop in New York, which we often do.
Oh,
So,
totally. Yeah. I mean, and I think everybody again is most likely going to be having a very tight knit New Year's Eve again with everything going on. But I think
sure,
that
sure.
these will bring, a little bit of joy to everyone. These are so fun. Let's see. We've got, oh, Alma, you're so nice. Sounds delish. Love the cider cocktails. Thanks, Darlene and Kristen, for talking about and teaching us about these creative cocktails. Oh, I picked the right
It's
comment, didn't I?
it's easy stuff. It's easy stuff. And the experiments are half the fun,
It
frankly.
totally is. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, we have a lot of cider cocktails on, obviously subscribe to Sip or Cider Craft magazine. Sip is our other magazine. Sorry. Get these little confused sometimes. But and Darlene, this book you can buy it on All in Cider. It's a great book. In fact, I have it right over here. I should have said it like, I'm
Well, I should have
positioned.
showed one
I
too,
have
but
like
also
nobody else.
available on Amazon for.
Also available on Amazon too. And I think that what we try to do with these cocktails is just show the versatility of this beverage. And like you
Yeah.
said, you can cook with it, you can make cocktails with it. And I know a lot of people have food sensitivities too. And hard booze, has no bad stuff in it, no gluten, no nothing. So this works
Nope.
for everybody.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So,
I
and
love
it's
this.
and it's a fun thing to do. It's a way of play. It's a lot. It's just play. It's easy play.
Totally. Yeah. This was so easy. In fact, I didn't have ginger bitters, so I sneakily put in like a couple drops of Angostura and it actually worked.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. Yeah.
It just
Yep.
adds a little layer and a little extra complexity.
No reason to be fussy about any of that sort of stuff. Don't have ginger bitters. Don't have Angostura. Got citrus bitters. Sure, that'll work. Probably not black walnut, but most of them I think would be fine in this.
Right.
Right.
So, Darlene, we have to do this again because this was so fun. I think that we should
I'd love to.
we should do this on a seasonal basis, because there's something for every season and we get to pull out new and different ciders and kind of show again just the versatility of cider. Oh, look,
I think
Ace
it's a
is
great idea. It would be actually fun to do low ABV cocktails sometime. The
yeah.
ones that don't
Yep.
use spirits, because that's actually an especially good use of cider. You can add lots of other things, whether or not it's bitters or other things, to a
Yeah.
cider to kind of zhuzh it up a little bit. And I don't know, for summer when you're going to be drinking 20 of them in a day. Well, maybe not 20. Well, shows
Hey,
where I
now.
come from. But
I mean, there are all those new imperial ciders that are up there in percentage of alcohol. So I would not suggest drinking 10 of those because you might have, a little rough day the next day. But
yeah.
okay, well, I think this is going to wrap it up. I wanted to we also have to keep it under an hour to put this on the Instagram too. But this was so fun. I can't wait to do this again with you, Darlene. I loved this. So
I'm looking forward to it, Kristen, anytime.
we'll work on our setup. Nobody understands. I have a big tall table plus another like box on top of this plus a slate board on top. But this is the magic of doing your own technology and things.
It's totally working. It's totally working. Cheers to you all. I hope you have a wonderful new year. I hope 2022 is oodles better than 2021, which has been a very, very weird year for all of us. 100%. And we're looking forward to great things. Thanks again, absolutely. Kristen.
Cheers, Darlene. Cheers, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.